people who are in a hurry, they don't necessarily need to be babied, they don't need to be mollycoddled, they don't need to be told that they're very, very special. What they need is an efficient answer that helps them out, and they can go right back to playing without needing to sit in the support window any longer than is strictly necessary. At the moment, I have roughly 2.5 agents, so 2 full-time and 1 working student on half-time. Over a general sort of 90-day period, we can expect to see 44,000 tickets come in. So that most of these tickets that come in that don't need to see an agent, don't see an agent. So we have the front line of resources, FAQs, ways for players to help themselves. If we find we get the same question a lot, how can I change this piece of information on my account? Then we make sure that they can change that themselves in their account. The second layer is a lot of automation designed on, if you think about a conversation tree in a role-playing game, it's all about predicting what the players are going to want to ask and getting there ahead of them. And anything we find gets asked a lot becomes an FAQ. Anything we find where we can cut out that extra step, we do. And by the time it reaches a human agent, it requires direct intervention. And to make sure that these 3 agents can do the absolute most they can, any extra click, any roadblock, anything that slows them down has to be removed. So if the first response is to ask the player for specific information, there was no need for a human agent to do that. You can have an automation do that. Make sure every time a player gets in touch with us, they have all of the information front-loaded, leaving the agent to make one decision and send one reply, and that solves it. Is it taking too long for agents to process these cases? And what can I do to fix that? Usually this means diving into the automation, streamlining something here, or editing the wording in a particular answer a bot is giving over here. I experiment. I set up small segments of the audience that I can test on. I run new automations for a limited time, make sure my team know what I'm doing. One time I forgot to tell them, they were not happy with me. But as a general rule, if they know what's coming, they can mitigate any damage, players stay happy, and if nothing goes wrong, we have a new system we can implement wider, and that works. And then I just repeat that over time until eventually I will have a one-touch customer support system that requires barely any human involvement. What HelpShift is really, really helpful for is there are no blind spots anymore where toxicity is concerned. If you're creative enough and you can predict what kind of insults players are going to come out with, you know how to properly categorize them. And when players are making their report, they can tell you directly in a quantifiable sense, here's what was said to me, this is the kind of thing that is happening in these games. And from there, you can look over your analytics, you can see which feature is being abused, what way it's being abused in, what kind of comments that we're dealing with. And where trust and safety is concerned, you might be dealing with extremism, general sort of vulgarity, a lot of profanity, and if you know what you're dealing with, you know what you can do about it. So feedback is a hard thing to categorize and quantify. It is, by its nature, quality-focused. But that doesn't mean I won't categorize and quantify it. So what we tend to look for, my automations will ask players sometimes players don't know the difference between feedback and a bug report. I've had players complain to me about a game feature that they absolutely hated, only to find that is actually a bug. It is not supposed to do that. And so the first question is this something that's affecting your game right now that you need us to step in and alter? And the other question is this something that you just want us to work on in future? Then they provide their feedback, and I give them 2 other options, which is close this, send it to the developers directly, or discuss it with us further. So anything that they ask to just have sent to the developers is then tagged with feedback in the game, and our QA department will regularly go through our tickets, looking for these tags between certain dates, maybe looking for keywords if that's what they're interested in, and they can read directly what kind of numbers are we talking about, how many people want this feature, how many people didn't like this previous one, and then just compare that to the general rate of feedback we have, and we have an idea of what's most popular. When they actually want to discuss the idea further, they get a human agent who will challenge the feedback in a positive way. So an example being if a player wants a specific unit added to the game, then the agent will ask them how they feel that unit should perform, how will it balance with other units in the game. And sometimes players say, well, I don't know any of that, that's for you guys, in which case, thank you for the feedback, pass it on. Other times we have genuinely interesting conversations where these players are then able to better shape their thoughts. So by the time it reaches our game designers, there is a full feedback document for them to go through.